Welcome back, students. So we had been discussing about reasoning under uncertainty. Today we are going to start discussing statistical reasoning. What we had been discussing lately, we had been discussing about reasoning under uncertainty. Whenever the information is absent or information is not completely available, in that case, when certainty is not there, in that case, how reasoning can take place means when the traditional question answering system cannot be applied, traditional reasoning cannot be applied, where you can apply resolution or chaining, what you are going to do. So as we had discussed earlier that reasoning under our uncertainty is subdivided into two parts. The first we have already discussed is non-monotonic reasoning. The second is what we are going to discuss today is called statistical reasoning. Now this is very interesting and simple unit, and there is a 7 marks theory question or an example which is asked from this unit, so focus properly. Now we are going to start statistical reasoning with probability and Bayes theorem. So basically what is statistical reasoning? With each and every fact that we are going to produce, or each and every rule which we are going to apply, we are going to assign a form of statistic with it. What kind of statistic? For that, different theorems we are going to discuss over here, that how we are going to assign statistic with the facts and the rules. So the first way we are going to discuss today is probability and Bayes theorem. So we all know about the basic probability. We have studied in mathematics. So we are going to revise it a bit, and then we are going to discuss about Bayes theorem also. It is very simple. So Bayes theorem is the method of calculating conditional probability. Now we all already know what is a probability, but what is conditional probability? So let us discuss that. The traditional method of calculating conditional probability means, suppose there are, let us say there are two events which are occurring, okay? And we have to calculate conditional probability for both the events. Then what we are going to do? Then we will calculate the probability for event 1 and then probability for event 2, multiply those probability and divide that by the probability for event 2. So it is like use the conditional probability formula, calculate the joint probability, that is the multiplication, joint probability for both the events, event 1 and event 2 occurring at the same time, and then divide it by the probability of event 2 occurring. So that is how we are going to calculate the conditional probability for the event 1. However, the same conditional probability can be calculated using Bayes theorem also. This question has been asked many times in GTO question paper. Explain Bayes theorem. So, when calculating conditional probability with Bayes theorem, there are the following steps which we are going to follow. Now see, this is the equation for which these conditions we need to discuss. What is PA, PB and so on. Determine the probability of condition B being true, assuming that condition A is true. There are two conditions we are talking about, condition A and condition B. So what you have to assume initially, that condition A is true. And then we will have to assume that identify the probability of condition B to be true when condition A is true. Are you getting the difference? Condition A is true regardless of any event, but condition B, the probability of condition B to be true when condition A is true, that we are calculating. Okay, so that is called P of B oblique A. Determine the probability of event A to be true, that is P of A. Determine the probability of event B to be true, that is P of B. Multiply the two probabilities together, means this is the first, that is the probability of B to be true when we assume that the event A is already true. Multiply that probability with the probability of event A to be true regardless any other condition, and then divide it by probability of event B occurring. So this is the conditional probability, joint probability of event A over event B. So this is called Bayes theorem formula. Let us see one simple example for Bayes theorem. Okay, this example is not there in the book, but for the sake of explanation, I have stated it over here so you can understand the equation. A doctor is aware that the disease meningitis causes a patient to have a stiff neck, and it occurs 80% of the time. He is also aware of some more facts which are given as follows. The first fact is the known probability that a patient has meningitis disease is 1 over 30,000. The known probability that a patient has a stiff neck is 2%. Okay, so now we have to find out conditional probability for the patient. Let there be a proposition that patient has a stiff neck and B. So A says that patient has a stiff neck, and what B says that the a patient has meningitis. So what we have to do, we have to find out conditional probability of A over B. Means the patient has, we assume that stiff neck, patient is having stiff neck, and then we are calculating probability of patient having meningitis when the stiff neck is present. Okay, so how we are going to calculate? The same equation we have discussed. So probability of A over B, what is going to be probability of A over B? So that we have already discussed, it is, see, A over B, probability of A is the patient is having stiff neck, okay, when the meningitis is available, so that is 0.8. Probability of patient having meningitis, that is probability of B, that is already stated 1 over 30,000. Okay, and the probability of A, that is probability of A patient having stiff neck, that is already stated 0.2. Okay, so 0.02, sorry, 0.02, as it has been stated, 2% means 0.02. Okay, so that is 0.02. So if we use all these values in the equation, then probability of B over A means probability of patient to have meningitis when the fact of having stiff neck is present is, see, the first is the reverse of this. Whatever we have written on left side, it's reverse you have to write. So probability of B over A, if you are calculating, you are going to use over here probability of A over B. So probability of A or B multiplied with whatever is in denominator, that you have to use over here. So probability of A over B multiplied with probability of B. And now finally, whatever is the denominator in this question, that should be written over here. So probability of A. How you are going to remember this equation once again? If we are calculating probability of B over A, in numerator we will take the reverse, means probability of A over B, and we will multiply it with whatever is the denominator of the first term, that is probability of B. What will be the denominator of the entire term? The denominator of the question, that is probability of A. Now when we substitute all these values over here, 0.8, 1 divided by 30,000, 0.02, this is the probability that we are going to get. Mark here, probability of A or B is already given in the question. We have not calculated that on our own. Okay, so this is how the probability, conditional probability has been calculated. Let us see one more example. From a standard deck of playing cards, a single card is drawn. The probability that the card is king is 4 out of 52. There are only 4 kings available. Then calculate posterior probability of having king over the faces, which means the draw face card is the king card. So what is going to be equation, as we have just remember, probability of having king over faces is take the reverse, means probability of face over king, and then whatever is the denominator multiplied with that, so probability of king. Whole term is divided by probability of face, which is denominator of the main term. Are you getting this? How to formulate this equation for Bayes theorem? Once again, if you have to calculate king over face, take the reverse, so face over king. Now, as king is at bottom, it should be in multiplication. So probability of king. Now, what will be the entire denominator? The denominator of the question, that is probability of face. So here it will be probability of face. So let us see what this term means. Probability of king is probability that the card is going to be the card of king. So there are only 4 king cards available out of 452 cards. So the probability is going to be 4 out of 52. That is 1 divided by 13. Now, probability of having a face card. The probability that a card is a face card is 3 divided by 13. Okay, fine. So there are going to be total 4 cards which are face cards. So if you see 3 plus 1. So out of those 13 cards, only 4 cards are going to be face cards. Now, probability of having a face card over a king card is probability of face card when the assume it is a king. Then the probability is going to be 1 only, and putting all values together, what we are going to get here, probability of drawing a card of king out of all the face card is, so reverse is over here 1 multiplied with probability of face card, that is 3 divided by 1 divided by 13, probability of king, sorry. So that is 1 divided by 13, and finally probability of face. So that is 3 divided by 13. So finally the value that we get over here is 1 divided by 3. So this is how Bayes theorem is used for calculating conditional probability. Now, what are the different application of Bayes theorem? We know in AI there are so many applications of Bayes theorem we can see in AI. I have just listed two. It is used for calculating the next step of robot when already executed step is given. When already we know that robot has taken few steps, what will be the next step? Then that is calculated using Bayes theorem. The second, Bayes theorem is helpful in weather forecasting also. Depending on what kind of weather we have right now, what should be the weather at the evening or tomorrow, that calculation can be done using Bayes theorem, using conditional probability equation. Okay, so this is all about Bayes theorem. So if there is a question like explain probability in Bayes theorem in detail, whatever we have discussed, you have to write that. The next thing, certainty factor and rule based system. So when we say rule based system, we are talking about the systems like expert systems which have different rules. Now how we are going to attach statistic for reasoning in these kind of rule system, that is what we are going to discuss now. What is certainty factor? Certainty factor theory is a popular alternative to Bayesian reasoning. So in case of using Bayes theorem, we can use certainty factor also. A certainty factor, that is CF, it is a number to measure the expert's belief. Whatever condition we are checking probability for, how much we believe in that, that count of belief is represented with the help of certainty factor. How this certainty factor will be calculated, that we are going to discuss just after this. The maximum value of certainty factor is going to be +1 and the minimum value is going to be -1. So the value of certainty factor will range from +1 to -1. Okay, fine. So how we are going to calculate that? For example, if the expert states that the some evidence is almost certainly true, then a certainty factor of 0.8 can be assigned. Okay, and if they say that almost it is false, then minus 0.8 can be assigned. Let us see what these terms means with the help of certainty factors. It is definitely not true. Then minus 1.0 certainty factor. We are not believing in the evidence at all. Almost certainly not. Then minus 0.8. Probably not 0.6. Maybe not minus 0.4. Unknown minus 0.2 or plus 0.2. Maybe plus 0.4. Probably 0.6. Almost certainly plus 0.8 and definitely 1.0. So see, these are the terms. It is not necessary that only these values should be associated, but these are the values most probable associated with these terms whenever we are using statistical reasoning, because they provide this confidence to specific event. Okay, in expert system with certainty factors, the knowledge base consists of a set of rules that have the following syntax. If evidence, then hypothesis, means event. If this evidence is present, then this event will happen. And for that, what is certainty factor? That will be represented in the bracket over here. Okay. But certainty factor represents belief in hypothesis H given that evidence E has occurred. So certainty factor is determined by the belief in this hypothesis event when this evidence E has occurred, it is present. Fine. Now let us see how certainty factor is going to be calculated. So to calculate certainty factor, there are two components that we must know: measure of belief and measure of disbelief. What is measure of belief? MBH, E. H means hypothesis, that is event, and E means evidence. Okay, proof. So measure of belief in hypothesis H, event H, when evidence E is present. That is the measure of belief in hypothesis H given the evidence E. Means when the proof is present, what is the belief in the event in the hypothesis H? That confidence, that belief is called measure of belief. Measure of belief measures the extent to which the evidence is supporting the event, the hypothesis. It ranges from 0 to 1. Are you getting this? Okay. The certainty factor ranges from -1 to 1, but measure of belief and measure of disbelief, they range from 0 to 1 only. What is measure of disbelief in hypothesis H over evidence E? A measure, the value is going to be between 0 and 1. A measure of disbelief, not trusting hypothesis H when evidence is true. Means when proof is available, how much disbelief we have for event H to occur. That is called measure of disbelief. Measure of disbelief measures the extent to which the evidence supports the negation of hypothesis. So this is how we trust it, and this is how we don't trust the hypothesis H when the evidence is present. So what is going to be certainty factor now? Certainty factor of hypothesis H when evidence is present is measure of belief minus measure of disbelief. Simple. Now, when there are multiple hypotheses available, when there are multiple evidences available, how we are going to calculate certainty factor, that is very tricky. Let us take the scenario one. When there are multiple conditions, we have multiple evidences available, then how we are going to calculate the measure of belief and disbelief in a particular hypothesis. Suppose there are multiple hypotheses available and single evidence is there, how we are going to calculate. So these are the different scenarios and how we are going to consider that calculating CF that we have to discuss. Now suppose we have one hypothesis, means one event, but two observations, two proofs S1 and S2. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Suppose I will say today is Monday, that is my hypothesis, that is my event, and I have two proofs for supporting that, proof S1 and proof S2. So what is going to be calculation, how we are going to have calculation of measure of belief and disbelief? So if measure of disbelief in hypothesis H, S1 and S2, when both evidences are present, is 1, means either measure of disbelief is going to be 1, or what will happen, measure of belief in H when S1 and S2 both are present is 0, 0 when the measure of disbelief is 1. Please consider this over here, okay? This if measure of disbelief, it should be along with 0, not above it, okay? So measure of belief in H when S1 and S2 both are available, it is 0 when disbelief is 1. When we don't trust it at all, then measure of belief is going to be 0 because disbelief is 1. Otherwise, what will happen if it is not so? Then measure of belief in hypothesis H, when two observations are present, it is calculated like measure of belief in H when S1 is present plus measure of, consider this B, not D, measure of belief in H when S2 is present multiplied with, see, whenever we had main chart, whatever was common, we had to subtract, right? So here the common portion is covered twice. So what we have to do, as S1, S2 both observations are available, we have to subtract 1 minus measure of belief in hypothesis H, comma S1. I repeat, measure of belief in H when S1, S2 both evidences are available is 0 when disbelief is 1. Please consider the first line over here beside 0. It is, if it is not 0, then we are going to add up like measure of belief in H when S1 is present plus measure of belief, this is B not D, measure of belief in H when S2 is present, dot, means multiply 1 minus the first term, measure of belief in H S1. Okay, now if we consider that we have total trust in hypothesis, then measure of disbelief in hypothesis when S1, S2, two evidences are present is 0 when we totally trust it, when measure of belief is 1. Otherwise, similarly, we are going to calculate measure of disbelief in hypothesis H when evidence S1 is present plus measure of disbelief in hypothesis H when evidence S2 is present, and once again multiplied with 1 minus first term, measure of disbelief in H when S1 is present, because that is going to be common. So see, though these both equations are same, just in place of M, when you calculate measure of belief, everywhere you will have MB. Pardon, this is MB. And whenever you calculate MD, it will be everywhere MD. That's it. So these are the simple equation when we are going to have multiple evidences and single hypothesis, how we are going to calculate measure of belief. Now, once measure of belief and disbelief have been calculated, then certainty factor will be calculated simply like MB minus MD. That's it. right? So this is all whatever we have discussed. It has been explained in words. I'm not going to repeat that. Okay. Now this is the example that has been showed, that suppose we make an initial observation corresponding to figure 7.4a, like we have multiple evidences for the same hypothesis which confirms our belief in H with MB is equal to 0.3. Then measure of disbelief in H S1 equal to 0 and certainty factor in H S1 is 0.3. Then means you have one hypothesis and one evidence only in that case. Now we make a second observation, that is a second evidence is present which also confirms H with MBHS2 is equal to 0.2. So how we are going to calculate over here measure of belief? Pardon, this is not MH, it is MB. So measure of belief in H when two observation S1 and S2 are present is measure of belief in H with S1 observation, that is 0.3. Measure of belief in H with S2 observation, that is 0.2, and this 0.2, and that is multiplied with 1 minus first term. So 1 minus 0.3, that is 0.7. So it is going to be 0.44. See, this is the equation that we have used over here. This one. Measure of belief in H when both observations are present is measure of belief in H when S1 is present plus measure of belief in H when S2 is present and 1 minus first term. That is what we have done over here. Simple. Now measure of disbelief is 0. Then what is going to be certainty factor? Belief minus disbelief. So 0.44 minus 0.0. So it is 0.44. Simple. So this is how we can calculate certainty factor. Now when we consider that multiple hypotheses are there and evidence is single, then how we are going to calculate measure of belief? So measure of belief when there are two hypotheses, two events occurred for single evidence, single observation. So measure of belief with H1 and H2 with evidence E is, as we are talking about minimum of, means when we are talking about end operation, both event must occur, it is minimum. If it is or H1 or H2, then it is maximum. So minimum of measure of belief in H1 over evidence E, comma, measure of belief in H2, comma, evidence E. The similar equation is over here also, just in place of minimum, we have maximum when we are using the operator or. Are you getting this? When multiple hypotheses are there and evidence is single, then either it is AND operation between hypothesis or it is OR operation. If it is AND operation, then minimum. If it is OR operation, then maximum. Okay. So this is how there are multiple evidences and multiple hypotheses. This is the equation that can be used for probability. Okay. So this is just given for the reference that can be referred. Now this is the same equation that we have referred, multiple observations and the same hypothesis, how you are going to calculate the value. One more example that can be referred. Okay. So if we see the example over here of the certainty factor, then what happens over here, that there are multiple rules possible. For example, the first event is sprinkler was on at last night. The second is grass is wet in the morning. I'm sorry. And the third is it rained last night. These are the three hypotheses. These are the three different events which occurred. Okay. And there are the different evidences we have. So considering that, we can calculate measure of belief, measure of disbelief, and calculate certainty also. So now next we are going to discuss is Bayesian network. So Bayesian network is the graphical representation of probability. Bayesian network is the probabilistic graphical model which represents set of variables and their conditional dependencies using a directed acyclic graph. It is also called Bayes network, belief network, decision network, or Bayesian model. Bayesian networks are probabilistic because these networks are built from probability distribution. Now there are different real world application where Bayesian network can be used, like predictions, anomaly detection, diagnosis, automated insight, reasoning, time series prediction, decision making under uncertainty. So these are the different conditions. And I will just give the overview and the detail we'll be discussing in the next lecture. So Bayesian network can be used for building models from data and expert opinions, and it consists of two parts: Directed acyclic graph and table of conditional probabilities. What is directed acyclic graph? For example, over here, A is connected with B is connected with C, D is connected with C, A is connected with D. So we can see over here we are having the arcs which are directed arcs, right? So a Bayesian network is a graph made up with node and arcs, directed links. So this is also called influence diagram or Bayesian network. Each node over here corresponds to random variable, and the variable can be continuous or discrete. So what and how the arcs can be used and how probability will be distributed and conditional probability will be calculated, we are going to discuss this in coming lecture. And after that we are going to discuss about Dempster-Shafer theory also, with certain examples which have been asked many times in GTO question paper. So please solve the examples which we have discussed today properly. I have intentionally skip two example because I want you to understand and solve them. I'm not going to solve everything. One example has already been solved. The solution is given in PPT. You can refer to that and solve in your class notes. So please refer to the concepts we have discussed. We'll be discussing the GTO question papers also very soon, and these concepts are very important for GTO weightage as well. Okay, so stay happy and healthy and keep solving the examples. If you get any query or doubt, then please drop by whatever mode you are comfortable with. Thank you.